Among all of the hurdles and the challenges that you face as an Amazon seller, one of the most difficult yet the most exciting is actually getting to launch your product. This is actually listing your product, getting it out there in the market that you select, and finally getting to sell that product that you've selected and you've put all the time into. And this can be, again, this is the most exciting because you finally get to sell it, but it can be the most difficult because a lot of people, they're unaware of where to start, how to set up their launching strategy. And that is exactly why I'm here today, to explain to you an 8-step method that I personally use for my own business and how you can go ahead and successfully launch your product. So we're gonna jump right into it with step 1 here today, and that is to build your brand and to create a brand for your products. I cannot stress how critical this is for long-term products. Now, there are 2 ways to actually go about branding your products. One, you can go through the Amazon brand registry process, which is the most professional way of doing this, where you actually go ahead, you trademark your brand, you register it with Amazon, and then you can unlock a lot of the content that you see here, A+ content, sponsored brands, Amazon stores, and more brand analytics. It gives you the most professional way to sell your product on Amazon. The second way is you can actually use a brand name without trademarking it and without actually registering it with Amazon, although I do not personally recommend it because it doesn't give you brand protection. As long as you do a research and you figure out that there isn't an existing trademark that you want to use, you can go ahead and feel free to use that brand name. Now, what I do not recommend for long-term products, and especially when launching, is do not use the GTIN exemption, do not use the generic brand name, because it's really going to hurt you when it comes to customer loyalty and customer trust. So always go ahead and do that. And as you can see for one of my latest products, just having this small brand, I know it's probably difficult to see for you, but just having that small brand of Vivre Golf, it really allows me to differentiate my product, creates a more professional listing, and ultimately builds that customer trust. So when they come to my listing, they can see that this is a branded product, it's much more reputable versus a generic product. And the last thing I want to say on this topic is I'm not totally against generic products, using that as your brand name, only for short-term products. If it's a long-term product, I really recommend figuring out a brand name, whether you trademark it or not, find a way to make it work because it's ultimately going to work out to your benefit. For step 2, it's going to seem like common sense, but we want to make sure that we have professional images. And there are a couple ways of going about this, which I'll show you. But first, I just want to show you an example as a customer's perspective, how I would process determining which one of these products I wanted to proceed with and ultimately place that order. So you can see here, I'm looking for some type of headphones. This is a listing that popped up. It's a generic brand and it doesn't have great reviews. Let's just eliminate that from our mind and let's just look at the picture. So this one only has one picture. You can tell it's probably from the supplier itself, and it's a little bit distorted. Now this is the only image that I have to go off of to place an order. And although the price point is very attractive at $8.99, just by looking at this picture, I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to get. Now, if you take a look at one of the competitors, this isn't a well-known brand name. I've never heard of Arc'teryx, but supposedly, it's a well-reputable brand on Amazon. But as you can see, just by having professional images, this gives me a complete idea of what this product is going to offer, the key features like that it's foldable, it's adjustable frame, standard jack, it goes through all these different attributes and features of the product and it just creates a much more professional listing itself. So I can see what it looks like when it comes to me. So that is something I really recommend doing, is to hire somebody either to take these pictures for you if you're not experienced with it, or at least take a shot and try it out yourself. Now, there are a couple ways that you can go about doing this. One is I do have a video I'll put in the cards right now that you can watch, and you can actually create your own light box. You can use your smartphone, your iPhone, your Android, whatever it may be, to take these pictures, and then with a simple editing on your phone or editing on the computer, there's some free software, you can go ahead and give your products that nice white background. And there's plenty of other sources that you can use in order to create professional looking photos with some templates. Pixelcut is another application that you can download on your phone. All you have to do, it's extremely easy, just take a picture on your phone of your product and it's going to immediately remove the background. Then you can place it in these templates to give it a professional backdrop, and you can add text if you want to add diagrams. So it's very easy to use. It's free for I think about 10 images or 3 images or so, but after that it's about $10 a month, which I think it's very, very efficient in doing what it needs to. Lastly, if you're looking to hire somebody, say you have no interest in actually going ahead and doing this yourself, you can reach out to a service that I recommend. It's called Fast Product Photography Service. I'll put a link in the description so you can check that out along with a discounted code. But this service is extremely professional. They've been doing this for years, and it'll really help you set your product out from the competition. All right, and then the last thing I want to mention on this is do not fall in the trap of actually just copying and pasting your product photos. I guarantee that's what happened on this listing. The seller just went ahead, they listed these with a generic brand name, and they just copy and pasted that image in just one of them. So let's say you were to go to your supplier listing, you simply copy and paste that. That is actually copyright infringement unless you have approval from your supplier to do so. But all in all, I do not recommend doing this because of two things. Is one, the quality is going to be pretty low, as you can see from this image right here. And then two, sometimes you'll see that there's actually some misprinted information on these, or the language might be in Chinese and you're selling to a US audience. That is not what you want to be doing. So invest in yourself, invest in your product by purchasing or taking your own product photos. Step 3 is a quick one, and that is to use Fulfillment by Amazon or FBA services. This is where you send all of your products to Amazon FBA. They go ahead, they scan your barcode so they know that it comes from your store, and then they can actually fulfill all of those orders and items on your behalf, as well as use it for storage. Now, using FBA, it's going to set your listing above the ones that are using FBM for the most part. If you have similar ratings and similar daily volume of sales. So it's only going to work to your favor if you're using Amazon's fulfillment service. Just make sure you factor that into your profit margin and you're aware of those fees. Step 4 is to reduce your sales price below 25% of what you expect it to be at long term, or you can place it 10% below the nearest competitor. So for example, let's say that we have a pair of these headphones and we're selling them for $25.99. What I would do is I would take 25% off of that, and I would put a sales price for my launch at $19.49. This just gives you ultimately a more attractive price point so you can attract those customers that are a little bit unsure of which brand to go with. And if they see that you're a couple dollars below the nearest competitor, they're going to go ahead more times than not and purchase your product, assuming you end up getting good reviews in the long term. Now, another thing that you can do, as I mentioned, is to set your price point 10% below the nearest competitor. So for these headphones here, let's say that they are our most popular competitor and we want to beat this competitor using our sales price. What we would do is we take their lowest deal. So, just because their list price is $37.99, there's a limited deal. More than likely this seller usually has this price point or has a sale going on. So I would take that $25.49 and I would multiply it by 90%, which is just taking 10% off of the top. So as you can tell, our price that we would list our sales price at would be $22.94. So this puts us over $2.50 below our nearest competitor, and that's attractive enough for a customer to, really make a decision based on price and to go with your product versus this one. All right, so at this point, you should have a branded product, you should have professional images, and you know what your sales price is going to be. Now, this is a very critical step, step number 5, and that is to use a product-targeted advertising campaign. This is by far my favorite strategy in regards to marketing and advertising, is to actually place my listing on one of the most popular listings in that niche that I'm selling in. And what I mean by that is, say this is, again, our most popular competitor. If you scroll down, you're going to see all these sponsored products. So every one of these products right here are paying advertising bids to actually use up this space, so that in hopes, someone were to scroll down, they see a cheaper set of headphones like these $19.99 and they end up clicking it and purchasing that one. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Now, it's very easy to do this. It may seem complex, but it's extremely easy once you see how to do it. So what we would do is you'd go to your Amazon PPC, pay-per-click advertising campaign manager, you'd create a new campaign, and then you'd be met with this. Now, I'm not going to go through this information. I do have a couple other videos you can watch on what to put for this. What we are interested in is where it says targeting. So we can either target specific keywords that a customer actually types in, or again, we can place our listing on the most popular competitor's brand. So we can see here, we'd select product targeting, and here's where we would add the individual products. Now we can target individual categories or individual products. I recommend products, and I recommend finding the most popular product in your niche. For this example, what we would do is we'd have to find the ASIN. If you do have Jungle Scout, you can find the ASIN at the very top right here if you have that embedded into your Chrome browser. If you do not, you can still find this information just by scrolling down until we get to here where it says product information. We'll copy that ASIN, go back to our campaign manager, and paste that in there and click enter. It's going to find it, and it's going to give us an idea of what the suggested bid is according to Amazon and the range at what people are bidding for this advertising space. So we'd click add. So as you can see here, we will be targeting this specific product and place our listing on their listing in hopes, we're going to be 25% below theirs or possibly 10% below theirs, whatever strategy you selected in the previous step. And ultimately, hopefully someone would come across your listing as a sponsored ad, they'd select it, see your price, see your brand and your great images, and they would go ahead and purchase your product. All right, we have 3 more steps here. Step number 6 is to understand what you should set your advertising budget at. I know some people will go ahead and they'll say, I'm just going to give it all the extra money that I have saved up for this. I'm going to put it all into advertising to gain those initial sales. Now that is going to be possibly great, but it may not be the most efficient way of launching your actual product. Now what I recommend doing is to take 10% of your expected sales for all the products that you have in your batch order and to use that as your advertising budget. If you understand how this breaks down, I told you 1, reduce your price by 25%, and then now I'm telling you to add 10% for your overall advertising budget. That adds up to about 35% of your total sales, which honestly may be your profit margin if you have a 35% profit margin. It's okay to net out on your first batch of products because the goal is to obtain those initial reviews. And then after that, your second or your third batch, you can really focus on profiting rather than just gaining those initial reviews. So to better understand this of what 10% actually means, let's look at this for example. So let's say that we purchased 200 products from our supplier on Alibaba and we are going to sell them at 10% each. This is the $10 after our reduction in sales price. And so that's going to give us a net revenue of $2,000, which is what we expect to make off of this. Now take that $2,000 or whatever your expected revenue / sales are and multiply that by 10%. This is going to give us $200 for our total ad budget for launch. Now it's ultimately up to you if you want to use all $200 in the first week or the first month. That's for you to decide how long you want your launch, quote unquote, to actually go for. I typically use the majority of this $200 right here in the first week, and then I'll use a little bit in the second week. And at that point, I'm hoping that I have enough time to sell all of those products, then go back to my supplier and get the second batch ready. For the last 2 steps, number 7 and number 8, we're going to combine the 2 because they really relate to one another and they're all around reviews, which is our ultimate goal in launching our product. So step number 7 is to phone a friend. Now what I mean by that is to ask one of your friends or your relative or a family member to go ahead, purchase your product, and to leave an honest review. Now I had to say honest review because you cannot sabotage this and say, just give me 5 stars, I'll reimburse you. Although there are ways of doing that. But I recommend just having a friend purchase your product and to give it an honest review so you can get that first or second review. You'll notice once you get that first review, if it's 5 stars, it's really going to help your organic sales. Additionally, it's going to help you with advertising and how efficient that campaign is, because for a new customer that is totally unaware of your product, if they come across it and they don't see any reviews, they're taking a lot of risk in being that potentially first customer. And for the last step, number 8, that is around your reviews. I get a question often, how many reviews do I need to get before I can end my launch process or my launch strategy? And I say ideally from what I do is I usually get 10 to 15 reviews with an average rating of a 4.8. Once you obtain that, you're going to see your listing really jump up in the search results if it's a low competition niche. And at that point, you should receive a lot of organic sales in addition to your advertising sales. And it's ultimately going to give you the best chance at profiting the best that you can be. So 4.8 is kind of the average of what I like. That's probably about 1 3-star review and the rest 5-star reviews. So really focus on that product quality so you can obtain those high quality reviews. All right, after that, you can go ahead and decrease your advertising budget and focus more on getting the organic sales, which come naturally through someone just searching randomly versus spending a lot of your money for advertising. I hope this has helped you understand better of how I launch my products. It's very simple once you do it a couple of times, and it works very effectively. So check it out, apply it for your products, and go ahead and make some sales.